All right, we are just standing by to talk to David Seymour, and I, of course, just remembered to. Here's the Associate Minister of Education. Maybe he can talk about this kura kaupapa in Tauranga, kura kaupapa Māori o te kura kaukiri. That is, we are told, and there's been no denial, and all the evidence would point to the fact that it's sending all its staff to Tahiti at your expense. Sean, you are poking a bear mentioning nepotism. It's rife with Maoridom, but their culture doesn't recognise it as wrong in a Western context, worth a brighter spotlight. Cheers, Sean. Sean, if it turns out we're told this trip is of cultural significance, I'd love to know how colonialism is rife. The main language is French. Tahiti is no longer. The trip is a glorified rip. Thank you. Sean, 17th of the 12th. Investigation into Hawaii trip. Te Kura Kaupapa Māori o Raumata took all its 139 students, 21 teachers and 73 caregivers on the trip last year, 700,000 of which was contributed by those going. Only 37k was contributed by those going. So this is an old thing. Who was that was on the phone there? Hang on. Hello. Is David there? Okay, let's get him up and get into it. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Acting Prime Minister David Seymour. You don't look a bit different.
No, it's amazing how little it changes it.
All right. Look, before we get into other stuff, David, we've just broken or got into a story, and I know I don't want to ambush you, but I'm wondering if, and given the reaction of our audience, I'm wondering if the government will look into it. A source told me, I passed this on to the Taxpayers Union, that there's a kura kaupapa in Tauranga that has 250 students and a budget of around $2 million a year. I've been told all its staff leave tomorrow on a taxpayer-funded holiday to Tahiti. The Taxpayers Union rang the school yesterday, who confirmed, or day before yesterday, who confirmed yes. They then realised they were talking to the Taxpayers Union and got angry and hung the phone up. The phone at the school is now off the hook. Those people could be taking the taxpayers' money and getting on a plane tomorrow. Will the government look into this?
Well, of course we would look into it if those turn out to be the facts. And
they are the facts. I can assure you they're the facts.
Well, that's what you're telling me, but I have to find out, first of all, how do we trust but verify that? It sounds like a gross misuse of taxpayer money, but as we've said over international conflict in the last few days, let's be absolutely sure before we jump to a conclusion, and I'm sure that will be looked into by a Minister of Education. Erica Stanford is directly responsible for kura kaupapa, and I'm sure she'll be onto that very soon.
Okay, well, let's hope she's onto it today before they jump on the big silver bed to Tahiti. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, David Seymour, it seems to me that in recent weeks you have been designated as evil bastard number one by the liberal media and the leftist trolls. There has been a never-ending stream of vitriol from all the usual suspects, all about you and Atlas and quite personal stuff, and also a focus on the Regulatory Standards Bill. Do you believe the culture war assault on you is a direct result of you ascending to the Deputy Prime Ministership?
Well, I just got to tell you, it's my birthday earlier in the week, and someone gave me this book, The Courage to Be Disliked. And I thought, I don't know if I need that, to be honest. I think I've got it.
But it does seem that you have become a particular target of the left.
Oh, look, I provide a valuable service. There's a lot of angry people on the left. They're angry that they lost the election, that their policies didn't work, actually brought an awful lot of sadness to New Zealand with the money they borrowed and the economic damage they did and the division they caused. They're very upset and they're very angry about all of this. And I provide something that they need, someone to blame. Unfortunately, that's not going to solve their problem, but I'm happy to be that person if it helps them. Meanwhile, I'm part of a government that is controlling spending, controlling red tape and regulation, removing divisive laws based on race, and actually putting New Zealand on a track where it can be, in time, the kind of country we want it to be, where each person is treated not based on where they've come from, but where they're going. And that is something I'm very proud to lead, and if it brings out a few haters, so be it. And I just make the point that there's always something like this. I was talking to some people yesterday. You may remember the Stephen Joyce dildo incident.
Yep.
And it's hard to forget, really, even if you'd like to. What people have probably forgotten about that incident is that it was driven by a woman. I think she was a nurse, and she'd become really, really het up about the TPP and specifically the investor-state dispute mechanism, which is in it. Now, of course, Labor came in, they called it the Comprehensive Progressive TPP, so now we have the CPTPP, but it's the law. New Zealand businesses are trading with our friends right around the Pacific Rim. It's really been quite fantastic. The democracy, as far as I can tell, has not ended in New Zealand, and we're basically in a good place. So, there's always something like this. Right now, the usual suspects are upset about the Regulatory Standards Bill. It will pass. It will improve the way we make laws in New Zealand. It will cut back red tape, and everyone will get on hunky-dory again.
Well, I read this morning in the Post, which I've decided as of today never to buy again, their second page lead is a report that says your Regulatory Standards Bill may be discriminatory against disabled people. That's a report from the Ministry for Disabilities.
Yeah, and again, one of the things that consulting other government departments about this bill has done is shown that actually we do need to raise the standard of policy analysis. So if you look at the bill, it says when you make a law, you should consult all people who are directly and materially affected, or their representatives. It says that if you want to make a law that restricts people's freedoms, you've got to show how it protects freedoms for others. So, for example, if you were a government and you wanted to make building laws that improved access for people in a wheelchair, say, then you would have to consult people directly and materially affected or their representatives, so people in the disability community. And you could very easily justify having access requirements for people in wheelchairs to buildings on the basis that any of us could find ourselves injured or disabled and would want to have that kind of access. So again, I don't think they've really thought through how the bill works. They're just going on feelings rather than truth. And that's my if there's one thing I really object to in all this debate, you look at someone like this Anne Salmon character or some of these so-called public health professionals, what they're really saying is that no matter they've all said things that are untrue about the bill, just demonstrably untrue. Yeah. But it seems how they feel is more important than getting to the truth, and that does annoy me.
All right. Well, you've kind of clapped back, and you have this, I think, quite engaging social media campaign. You're posting every day or so someone who's got Regulatory Standards Bill derangement syndrome. Anne Salmon has featured in that and a few others. But now you've got someone like Tory Whanau and also amazing, he's such a credible source, son J.R. Hatatoa from the Disinformation Project. And you've got people writing to the Prime Minister saying that you're breaching the cabinet manual by clapping back at them on social media. And Tory Whanau seems to be all aflutter over this now that she's paid the bill at the restaurant. What do you make of that criticism? And to be honest, it shows, I would say it suggests a pretty pathetic level of political and intellectual debate in this country if that's what your opponents are reduced to.